Good evening. Welcome to the June 8th, 2017 edition of FRC Media News. I'm Donna Mata. This week, we offer insight about how the Fall River Career Center is assisting those workers who lost their jobs at the now-closed Brayton Point Power Plant in nearby Somerset. Provide an update on who is running for school committee seats and who is not in the city's upcoming election this fall, and provide highlights on ongoing construction and maintenance projects at all of the city parks. But first, let's check in with Will Richmond, Managing Digital Editor of the Fall River Herald News. Hello, Will. Welcome.
Hi, Donna. How are you?
Okay, there you go. I can hear you loud and clear. This is great.
All right.
All right, let's start off with the top story really of the day. The FROED board met this morning and some financial bad news came out for FROED as of this point. So can you give us some details?
Yeah, so the FROED Executive Board met this morning for their regular monthly meeting with the intention of approving their budget for the upcoming fiscal year. A slight snafu at this point, however, is they have traditionally been funded with Community Development Agency funds, receiving about $320,000 to support FROED's business, FROED's office. But as of today, that money has not been yet approved for FROED. This may be in part because of President Trump's promises to defund the Community Block Grant Development Program, which is what funds FROED, or it could be related to the ongoing sort of spat between the mayor's office and FROED as well. So, but essentially what has happened is the FROED board voted on two separate budgets, one that would include the CDA money, one that would not. If they find out they do not receive the CDA money, that would mean FROED would have to cut about half of their staff and move forward with less resources.
And they have a small staff to begin with. There are only 6 people in that office, which, by the way, is moving out of Government Center into the Cherry and Webb building, and that was no surprise that Mayor Correa had done that. The two have been feuding for quite some time. The Herald News also has some more information on that feud. Can you just fill us in on some details?
Sure. Yeah. You know, this whole sort of back and forth between FROED and the mayor's office goes back a couple of months now, from the FROED board at their annual meeting putting out the sort of word that the mayor is under FBI and HUD investigation. Mayor Correa has, on his end, been trying to take economic development responsibilities away from FROED and creating a separate office under the mayor's administration that would handle economic development. That effort was not approved by the Redevelopment Authority, which has a role in economic development in the city as well. So, you know, a lot of alphabet soup here between FROED, CDA, RDA, and the mayor's office. And, you know, this continues to go back and forth. As you mentioned, FROED has been evicted from their 6th-floor offices in Government Center. The expectation as of this time is that they'll be out by the end of this month and moving into space in the Cherry and Webb building, which is owned by FROED. So they'll have space there instead. You know, and what this will mean for economic development in Fall River going forward, I think we'll just have to wait to find out.
Right, and there's no time limit here. Basically, the block grant money is on hold. Is that correct?
Well, it's not so much that it's on hold. Other entities in the city are funded by it. The city has moved forward with their normal process for block grant monies for other resources, but something's holding it up on the FROED allocation at this point.
So time will tell. All right, moving on to the King Philip Mill story. The mill, of course, has been vacant for quite some time, and there are some potential developers interested in purchasing the property. Tell us about that.
Yeah, speaking of economic development, so the King Philip Mill, as you mentioned, has been empty for some time. It's been a fire concern and a safety concern down in the south end. This week, 2 prospective developers toured the facility with city officials. This was part of a requirement for anyone who may be interested in purchasing the mill. One of those developers had already presented his idea to the South End Neighborhood Association, looking to put market rate apartments in the facility, or to redevelop it as market rate apartments. The second developer, this is the first time he had sort of emerged. So we'll learn more about his plans potentially in the coming weeks. One of the facets in order to be a successful bidder on this property is that you do have to present your plans to the South End Neighborhood Association. And they have a meeting next week on the 15th, I believe, to hear those plans. So we'll see where that goes, but at this point, it's at least possible after a long time of vacancy that something could be happening with the King Philip Mill and could get back on the city's tax rolls once again.
Now, we know that State Representative Alan Sylvia is president of the South End Neighborhood Association. He's been really pushing for development of that property because of safety issues as well. And from what I understand, in addition to apartments, he'd like to see the property somehow connected to Cook Pond as well. So it'll be interesting to see what happens, because the mill comes with so many problems inherently in terms of just cleaning it up and raising the building or fixing it up in any way.
Yeah, one of the reasons they required potential bidders to go on the tour is because it's essentially being sold as an as-is property. So they did not want anyone to be surprised by what may be on the site, what the conditions of it were, or anything along those lines. So, so if you weren't there on Monday for the tour, you're not bidding on the property successfully based on those requirements.
The city has been having trouble too selling some of the vacant property, like the old police station on Bedford Street. That's been vacant too for many years. But again, there are environmental impact factors involved and a lot of money to clean up those kind of sites. So we'll see what happens with the King Philip Mills. And on the lighter side of the news, the expansion of the Borden Light Marina was a story in the paper today. Can you tell us about that?
Yeah, so Borden Light Marina owner Mike Lund has purchased land that is adjacent to the marina along Ferry Street. This will allow him to expand his operations. While the plans are still pretty fluid at this point, he's talking about things such as a waterfront restaurant, something that will join the Tipsy Toboggan, which he has kind of across the street, and the Tipsy Seagull, which is on site at the marina now. But so he's looking to expand there and expand more services for the business. This is all coming from property that used to be an industrial site next door, and people may have noticed if you've been in that area, structures have been getting knocked down on that land. So it's very much in the beginning process, but there's a lot of hope for the waterfront in Fall River at this point, and this may be the latest piece of growth in that area.
Yes, and there has been a lot of growth economic development-wise, no question, with all the developments, Route 79 project, everything. So we'll see what happens with that. And that is going to also take a few years to really get to where the city would like it to be. All right, Will, what's coming up in the paper this weekend?
Sure. This weekend we continue our jobs series with a look at what might be the dirtiest job in Fall River. I do know that when the reporter and photographer came back, they certainly wore the odor of it. So we'll have that on Sunday, plus full coverage of all the graduations taking place in this area through the weekend. Yes,
that's an interesting story, by the way. Have you been working on that story with Fall River Career Center folks?
As part of the series, they have certainly been part of it, but this one is separate from the Career Center. So this one we went right down into the depths of some waste. So you'll have to check that one in the paper on Sunday.
There you go. There you go. Good reason to buy the paper on Sunday for sure. Okay, well, thank you very much. You have a very good weekend, and it's always a pleasure.
All right. Thanks for having me, Donna. Have a good weekend.
You too. Thank you. We'll have more FRC Media News right after this.
Here are some job descriptions on the latest hot jobs list from the Fall River Career Center. Orthodontic Assistant. Cool Smiles, located at 933 Pleasant Street, is in need of a full-time orthodontic assistant to prepare patients for examinations, take x-rays, and orthodontic facial photos, as well as prepare tray setups for dental procedures. Job number 9057323. Paralegal. South Coastal Counties Legal Services, located at 275 Martine Street, is seeking a full-time paralegal to provide civil legal aid to low-income families and elders. Excellent communication and computer skills required for intensive telephone work. Interviewing applicants for legal assistance. Job number 9057469. Medical assistant. Health First, located at 387 Quarry Street, is looking for a full-time medical assistant to provide direct patient care responsibilities such as vital sign processing, lab work, prescription refills, and assist the primary care provider with hospital records and test results. Job number 9042673. Amazon, located at 1180 Innovation Way, is looking to fulfill the following positions. Warehouse Associate, job number 9046367. Pathways Operations Manager, job number 9057712. Fulfillment Associate, job number 9052427. Area Manager, job number 9057416. For more information on these or other positions, visit FRCmedianews.org or call the Fall River Career Center at 508-730-5000.
Be June, but soon it will be election time in Fall River. Here's Keith Tebow with an update on who's running and who's not so far in the upcoming school committee race in that election to take place this fall.
Two current members of the Fall River School Committee have already indicated that they will not be seeking re-election this year. Both Ed Coster and Gabe Andrade both decided to give up their seats. Back in March, Andrade told FRC Media News that he elected not to seek re-election, citing family considerations. He wants to spend more time, he said, with his grandchildren. Costa wrote a piece on his Facebook page this week that he will not be running for re-election either, saying that medical and related family considerations is making it increasingly difficult for him to meet the standard of effort that the school committee job requires. He also expressed his thanks to his fellow committee members, saying that, quote, when parents and schools work together in the spirit of cooperation and communication, anything is possible. So far, the only incumbent to have taken out nomination papers is Joseph Martins. The newcomers also taking out papers thus far, Sean Connell, Mariam Morales, and Jessica Wong. The election process begins September 12th with a preliminary election, followed by the city election on November 7th. For FRC Media News, I'm Keith Tebow.
The Brayton Point coal-fired power plant in nearby Somerset closed its doors over Memorial Day weekend. While some 170 employees are out of work as a result of that move, 114 of them registered to get job assistance from the Fall River Career Center. Director Joe Vienna explains what these laid-off workers are being offered.
We look on an individual basis. We try to assess each person's needs, in essence, to try to see what is the best fit for them in terms of employment opportunities that are currently existing, or looking at vocational skills training to see any other opportunity that they may be able to take advantage of. We use a great number of tools here at the center, including our TORC program, assessment tools that help people look at their skill sets and understand what types of things could they do, what types of new jobs could they do, what are the skill sets required, what is lacking in the credentials that they may have, and then we try to fill that gap with our vendor community, with such as Bristol Community College and other vendors, to make sure that they have the skill set needed for those new employments.
Since many of these employees have been doing the same job for years and in some cases decades, FRC Media News asked Vienna if the workers seeking his assistance are asking for employment in the same field.
That's a very good question. It's a situation where people that have been there are very skilled in a particular area or another, typically around electricians, plumbing, very types of positions that are high demand in certain areas, but it could be someplace else, not necessarily in this area. So there's an issue around that. There's also an issue around what they may need for that next job. And we're going to be looking specifically at credentialization more so than any additional number of skills, so to try to capitalize on what they already possess. And then, of course, there are some people who are said, you know, I'm done, I want to pursue something completely different. I've heard that as well, which is very interesting, and we're going to work with those to make sure that we have a full assessment, the tools that we have available, and we're going to help them come to an understanding of what they might be able to do, and we're going to be encouraging them to pursue that.
Well, despite cold and rainy weather earlier this week, state and city officials, along with numerous students, announced the official opening of Father Travassos Park in the Flint neighborhood of the city. FRC Media's Lucy Cabral has that story.
Fall River Mayor JZL Carrera II, State Representative Alan Sylvia, and State Senator Mike Rodrigues attended a ribbon-cutting ceremony along with students from the Espiritu Santo Parochial School. The crowd was led by the Pledge of Allegiance and National Anthem. The president of the Flint Neighborhood Association, Carlos Caesar, was instrumental in planning the design and features of the park with the help of architects and state officials. He says that 5 years ago, the land was virtually vacant, and he had an idea that transformed the 4-acre park to its current state, which boasts a colorful splash park, a connection to part of the Alfred J. Lima Quikasham River Rail Trail, and a soccer field, and a playground as well. Caesar is especially proud of the safety factor for the children who will utilize the park, and adds that a Veterans Memorial will also be built at Father Travassos in the near future. Mayor Carrera reiterated that the park's reconstruction was all made possible through key partnerships, persistence, and $8.2 million provided by the Commonwealth of Massachusetts and EEA's Gateway City Parks program. Father Travassos joins the other 22 parks, fields, and playgrounds across Fall River as a place for kids and parents alike to enjoy their free time.
Part of the ribbon-cutting ceremony was also held to officially open the last section of the Alfred J. Lima Quikasham River Rail Trail. Janice Veloso works for the nonprofit agency called Mass in Motion, which is designed to get Fall River residents to get in good physical shape through exercise and healthy eating, and stay that way. In her role as Active Healthy Living Coordinator, Veloso was instrumental in seeing the walking trail through to its completion.
You can now walk 2 miles from Britland Park all the way out to the town of Westport. So the last piece has been opened, which connected over near Father DeValley's out to Brayton Avenue. So the 2 mile, it's 2 miles one way out to Westport and 2 miles back.
So you can walk or
ride your bike, or take your scooter if you're young enough to have a scooter, or a skateboard. No motorized vehicles on the trail. Trail is open from dawn to dusk, and we do have some emergency call lights, call boxes down here. We have lights through the tunnels. It's a beautiful place if you haven't been down here yet.
We'll have more FRC Media News right after this.
Today we have Chica. She's a 3-year-old little Chihuahua girl, and she has been with us since May 5th. Yep, May 5th, and she's up for adoption. She's very sweet. She's a little timid. She gets a little bit nervous, but she's definitely a lap dog. She would do well with pretty much anybody. We haven't had her cat tested, so we don't know about cats, but she does pretty good with other dogs. And as far as we can, we'll do the cat testing if you decide to adopt her, so we'll know that ahead of time. Yep, she needs somebody that's going to show her some tender love and care. Give her time to acclimate to whatever situation she's going to be in. Now this is actually Kitty, that's her name. Kitty got here yesterday. Her family was unable to take her on a very, very long trip that would take weeks to get there, so they didn't want to put her through that. So, as you can see, she's absolutely beautiful. She's very, very sweet. She's, of course, very little scared right now, but I think she'd be very easy to start trusting. She's just a little nervous. She's definitely, she has calico mix in her. She's 8 years old. And you do know cats can live to be like 16, 17 years old, so she's still, you know, middle-aged. She has a lot more life left in her. And she's just absolutely beautiful. They're at Forever Paws, 300 Linwood Street in Fall River. Our hours are every single day between 11 and 4, except Wednesday. Wednesday's the only day we close. So come and see her, 11 to 4, put in an application, and take her home.
River Mayor Jaziel Correa II took to Facebook this week to talk about improvements that will be made at Griffin Park.
Hello everybody, this is Mayor Jaziel Correa with another news flash from the Mayor's office. Today we're talking about parks, specifically Griffin Park. This is a park that definitely needs some help, some attention, and we've committed some significant funds to make that happen. So as you can see here in this diagram, we're going to be redoing the basketball courts, adding a place for small children and a half court, a lot of open space, which was something that the neighbors requested, so they could do movie nights, lunch in the park, all that great stuff, playground, new landscaping, and continuing to pay homage to Staff Sergeant Griffin, who the park is named after. So we're very excited about this project, and it's fully funded and ready to go. This neighborhood has been waiting, the Corky Row neighborhood has been waiting for this for a long time, and we're happy to do this. In addition to this park, we're still doing all the other parks, sidewalk repair around many of the other parks throughout the city. So look forward to playing out there in our parks. Thank you.
And FRC Media News caught up with the Director of Community Maintenance, John Perry, who gave us more insight into the Griffin Park upgrades.
Yeah, I mean, that's a big project, very ambitious project, much needed improvements at that park that have been coming for a long time, that the residents there will definitely appreciate. New basketball courts, some smaller amenities for the younger children, new playground, along with greenery, trees, new walkway in the park itself. So it's something that in that neighborhood has been lacking for a long time, and has been a conscious effort to try to give the folks in that neighborhood something that they can appreciate and enjoy, and for many years to come.
Well, you said that there were 14 parks, and why is Griffin being singled out?
Well, it's one that's needed the improvements for quite some time. We try to spread out throughout all the parks, and unfortunately, certain parks have to wait as we go through the process. So we're moving park by park, trying to make, definite improvements in all of them.
Perry does say that the work at Griffin Park is slated, hopefully, to be completed this summer. That's it for this edition of FRC Media News. You can catch FRC Media News Thursday and Friday at 6 p.m., but our online news site is available 24/7 at frcmedianews.org. For all of us here at FRC Media News, I'm Donna Mata. Good night.